Hello, everybody. Now we're going to talk today about an alternative to something. I said that there was only one way to do it. There was only one correct open throat, and I made a video on it. I think I proved the point pretty well, and now I'm going to unveil something that has always been somewhat debatable. The other system that I showed you for organizing the open throat was based on the Garcia, the Manuel Garcia school. And it's all about points. And if I go, ha ha ha, where do I sing? You notice that my throat doesn't do anything. Oh, today I'm feeling fine, and my throat is open. Now, what we want to talk about today is something different. It's a whole different approach. Mr. Garcia studied babies, and he observed that they go, and when they breathe in, they go. Those have official medical names. One, the outward one, where you exhale and then stop the exhalation, is called the Valsalva maneuver. The one where you breathe in and stop the inhalation is called the Miller maneuver. And he observed that babies do both of these, right? They go, ah, 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 ah. So what he got from babies was a point of phonation, a breath stop, right? A certain way of breathing. They all breathe behind them, and when they make a sound, their stomachs go out, not in. So everyone that pushes the stomach out when they breathe and pulls in when they sing is backwards. That's a sleeping baby. And we don't want to do the sleeping baby. We're not asleep. Let's face it. We're awake. So the idea is to breathe in, pull your navel in, as Lamperti describes in his book, and you go. And then what? And here we go. Now we have to look at what Mr. Lamperti saw when he studied a baby, a laughing, crying baby, and that is he looked at how they pronounce, how they say ah. And he said the baby ah is a form of the, quote, famous words, the open throat. So we do have an alternative to the open throat if we change schools completely from the Manuel Garcia school to the Giovanni Lamperti school. Now, we study mouths and mouth shapes. A lot of singers today are doing this. What? As my New Zealand tenor colleague who sang Tristan in Tannhäuser and Siegfried in Germany all the time used to say, he said, why do you sing with your mouth so closed? Because you sing like this. You know? I said, why do you sing with your mouth almost closed? He said, well, you know, mate. He said, if you open the barn door, the cow will get out. So the idea was not to go, no, and let the voice go under the mask, which the mask is way up here. So when you watch babies, and then you stop and think, now who do we know who sang with this baby-shaped mouth? And one guy, Enrico Caruso, even said, never change the shape of your mouth when you go to a high note. So here's one of the famous photos. This is Mr. Caruso demonstrating the ah vowel. He's singing the ah vowel. It's in Dr. Malfiotti's book, all these pictures. And then we study, was it natural or unnatural what he was doing? Should you pull your jaw down or not? So let's look at God's invention over here. A 7.5-month-old baby girl, look at the shape of her mouth. If I put both of these up and you look at the corners of the mouth, right? The upper lip is a straight line all the way across. They both have cheek balls. That's these things right here. See? They both have them. Look at that. Then you look at the lower lip. The lower lip in both cases is protruding right here. And the tongue is across the lower lip. So that means Caruso, I think he was 40 years old here, the most famous singer in history for 25 years already. And you think about, why in the world was he singing his mouth like a 7.5-month-old baby girl? Why? So Mr. Lamperti explained it in his book. He said the open throat in the Italian school, he called it, not the Lamperti school, is the same shape as the R vowel in the Italian word stai, stai. So if I say stai, fly, come vai, cosa fai, dove vai, all right? And then we have it, of course, in English. Cry, sigh, die, lie, tie, right? You have it in French. Miroir, miroir, miroir. And I mean, you have a lot of it in Italian. Farfalla, farfalla. But many Italian, they make a difference. The polite form is come sta, and it's an R vowel. And the familiar form is stai, come stai, ah. So according to Lamperti, the open throat, the Italian school, is the same shape as the R vowel in the word stai, which is that familiar form. Now, I'm going to pull in my navel and breathe in my back, just like Mr. Lamperti says, and pull it in and go. And then I'm going to sing that shape, stai. So I go, come stai, come stai, come stai. Well, what do you think? What we're doing in the Lamperti school is we're creating one of these. Except this one is hard plastic and rigidly formed and preformed. And what we have is something soft inside. We have meat, and we have to learn to shape our megaphone by breathing. So I go, and now my throat open, and this is what one thing that's in common with the Garcia school. I go. Frank Corelli used the Muller maneuver and went. So did Jerome Hines. We did this. Made that funny noise, and then wherever that scratch is. Hello, it is so nice to see you. And I would sing on that little scratch, and I wouldn't be saying sty at all. I'd be using strictly the open throat I get when I do nothing except breathe. And I go. And if I impose that particular way of breathing, that Muller maneuver, so someone kept, in the Corelli masterclass, someone said to Corelli, you keep talking about the open throat, the open throat. How do you get the throat open? And Corelli went, and it went on and on and on. And I said, oh my God, so what's he doing? He's going, and then he stopped. He said, now you understand? So the idea, no, nobody understood. What is going on when I do that? But if I do the Garcia school, think about it. I pull in my abdomen, take a big breath and go. And now I've got to shape my throat, which is my megaphone. I'm going to shape it like sty. And then within the sty, I'm going to say a, e, I, o, u. I'm going to say all the vowels within the shape of sty. So I go sty, and then I go a, e, I, o, u. How are you today? It's so nice to see you. See? So if I sing like that, I get it. How are you today? I'm fine. Let's go down. Well, somebody said, oh, that's too open. You've got to cover. I go through this battle all the time. First of all, rule number one in the bel canto school is no action in the throat. So you can't go and cover and be a bel canto singer. It is impossible. It goes against the definition of what bel canto meant, right? The other is you can't change the emission. So if I go, when I go, oh, I not only make an action in my throat, but I also change my emission. As every action has an opposite reaction. So I cannot change the shape of my throat without getting a reaction, and it's in my breath. So I go, not the Lamperti school, or the Garcia school. Both have to follow the rules of no change of emission, no action in the throat. And then Caruso went on and said, don't change the shape of your mouth when you go to a high note. Oh, brother, you know. So here's my shape. Sty. Now, la 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 la. In other words, I'm singing through one shape, which in this case is sty. The Lombardi school was much simpler. The Garcia school is very complicated. You have to do a lot of deep breathing, use a lot of this the point of phonation, the point of leaning. You have various punti that you have to use all the time. If I take a breath, I go, nothing here. I'll do the snore because that always neutralizes your throat. And do a staccato. Now where's that staccato here? I also have a point of phonation. Where's the staccato? In the back of my neck. So I go. Also have a point of resonance up here. So I've got a somewhat complicated process going on here in the Garcia method. I breathe. See, I'm right on that little point back there. And I'm on the point here on my breath, on my diaphragm. So I go. I'm going down. That's on the point of leaning of the breath. If I use the point of phonation, I go. I'm going down, and I'll see you later. But if I use the Lamperti school, the open throat in the old Italian school, as Lamperti called it, was the same as the formation sty in the back of your neck. So I go sty, and that's the shape I have to maintain. And it's my megaphone. I'm going to sing all the vowels to it. So what I've done is I've opened up, I've created a megaphone. Now, when did that get popular? When all these guys started writing these incredible new operas with 90 players in the orchestra, not to mention Mr. Wagner with the 120, 130, and all kinds of things were happening. Even Verdi was writing big stuff, big orchestrations, and you realize in some of the orchestrations how many different instruments are required. And when you did that, the Garcia school was a little bit less efficient for power singing. If you listen to Francesco Tamagno, who sang the first Otello, and he coached it with Verdi, listen to the way he sings. He goes, Ora per sempre, addio, santa memoria. And he very carefully pronounces every single syllable. It was a brand new opera, very complicated. Those of you who know the play, Otello, by Shakespeare, no, it's very complicated, and they want to bring out every word of this brand new opera. So then you hear Tamagno, who did the first Otello, was the first Otello, and he had a tremendously powerful voice. But why was his voice so powerful? Because he used the megaphone principle. He used the Lamperti school, and you listen to the way he's pronouncing. Ora per sempre addio. Right? Now, if he were in the Garcia school, he would have gone, Ora per sempre, addio, santa memoria. And of course you can do either one, and they both work. The question is which one is getting over a monster orchestra better in the back of the theater. Anyway, the Lamperti school became gradually more and more popular. Let's say popular. People wanted that bigger sound. So when Caruso made his debut in Naples, and there was the king of the bel canto tenors, Mr. Ferdinando de Lucia, who sang everything on points and sang like that. Great coloratura singer. And he'd sing, Ecco ridendo in cielo sfonda la bella aurora. Well, you think of how Caruso would have sung that, right? Ecco ridende in cielo, sfonda la bella luna. One of the results is that you have trouble singing softer all the time, but you also sing bigger much more efficiently. So if you want to use, I hesitate to call these the open throat because they are really more like which megaphone do I use? There's a recording of Caruso doing the duet with the baritone from Forza Celestino, Solenne Quest'ora, and he sings with the Garcia method. He goes, Solenne Quest'ora, giurarmi dovete, right? But on the other recordings he sings, we have giurarmi dovete. So which megaphone should we use, and when should we use them? See? Franco Corelli blew his voice out, wrecked himself trying to sing Otello. He learned Otello, and he was trying to he didn't know the Lamperti school, so he went with this thing he learned from a student of Malocchi, which was this. Delmonico sang here and combined this one with the Lamperti school, and Delmonico always sang very open. He sang like that. I studied with him for almost 6 months, and he do this. I said, doesn't it tire your throat? He said, oh no. I said, I never let it get higher than this. If it comes up here, it will damage my throat, but I have to keep it down here. So, and he'd do that. He'd go, ora per sempre, addio, santa memoria. And of course the voice came out like gangbusters. I know because I sang the little part, Rodrigo. And I was having lessons with him. I'm on a recording with him. And my one line comes up, "D'affogarmi." He says, I'm going to drown myself. And you hear me going, "D'affogarmi," trying to make a hit with my one little line. And trying to do what and Fan Delmonico said, one day in a lesson, he said, don't try to do what I do now. Just give it some time. Maybe one day you'll be able to do it. But he sang all the time with this strange combination. And all the other Malocchi students didn't do that. It's interesting because I think Caruso just had some kind of marvelous natural talent to go with the instruction he was getting. But if I sing here, and I can sing there without opening, without using my megaphone, I can just go see? Well, that should be big enough, right? But if I use the Lamperti school, I have to open up and create a shape in my throat that is the same shape as stai. So I go, see that? So then you listen to any number of singers, and you can decide as you go along which one was a later bloomer, because Lamperti came later and Garcia came earlier, and Garcia's technique was marvelous for all that bel canto music they were doing, see? And you could do coloratura. I could go and I don't do anything up here, and I just mostly attach to this point. Depends what I'm singing, of course. But there's no reason why I can't just go. If I sing, let's see, third act of Bohème, I go. Nascondo la mia vera tortura. Now, is that the way that I should sing it or not? Or shall I sing it with the Lamperti method? Or shall I sing it with the stai megaphone? Breathe in. I'm going to breathe in and go. And I'm breathing stai. That's what I'm doing. I'm going. Nascondo la mia vera tortura. So anyway, you can see, I sang 64 parts, plus all those big concerts, Verdi Requiem and Das Lied für die Erde, Mahler, and things like that. Of course, tons of 9 symphonies and things. So, which method did I use, should I have used? If you're doing Freischütz, something like that, and I'm going, durch die Wälder, durch die Augen, so leiten sie's dahin. Shall I sing it like that? Or shall I use the Stye megaphone? See? Durch die Wälder, durch die Augen, so leiten sie's dahin. Get the idea? Nada never vile qual più male vento muta accendo e di pensiero. Nada never vile qual più male vento muta accendo e di pensiero. So we talked about sighing the other day in one of these videos, and if you've got some monster opera to do, like Master singing for Nuremberg, which is 5.5 hours long, if you can sigh all night, you won't get tired. Now, do I sigh? Which shaped megaphone do I use if I sigh? So if I sigh here, I get, fine. Oh, you today I'm feeling fine. And that's sighing on the sternum. See? If I use the sigh method below my navel, I get, I'm going to town and I'll be back later. We really need something to eat. I'm going, I'll be back tomorrow. Well, what if I use the Stye megaphone? And I go, I'll be back tomorrow. See? So it's nice if you know how to use all of these. Sometimes you sing things and you figure, you know what, I just don't want to get tired. That's all I want to get through this whole cotton-picking evening. And I got to rehearse all day tomorrow and sing tomorrow night and the night after and blah, blah, blah. So which one is the easiest one for me? The orchestration doesn't change just because you're tired or because you want to save your voice. The orchestration is still there and you still have to deal with it. See? I mean, my favorite singer in this past singer generation was definitely Pavarotti. Pavarotti used the Garcia method, but his point of leaning was on his navel. So he'd sing like that. Right? See, why not? So what happens if I make a Stye megaphone and I go, now there's no particular point anymore. I'm not singing on these punti anymore. I'm just singing now, but I am singing through a megaphone and all my words are fitting inside of it. Okay, here's my megaphone. Oh, bell'alma innamorata. See what I'm doing? Oh, bell'alma innamorata, bell'alma innamorata. Anyway, we can almost pick if we get competent at using both methods, you'll get so that you can decide what you want, when you want it. I'm not sure that one is easier than the other. The Garcia one is much more complicated and requires much more coordination between things, and the Lamperti school Stye is sort of like a baby laughing. Babies go ha 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 ha, right? And that's all they have to do. You don't have to do anything else. You hardly have to worry about your breathing. If your breathing is adequate, if your breathing development and capacity is adequate, you hardly have to think about your breathing when you're singing. You just have to have enough to be able to do it. See? Breathe. Now, where am I? I'm going to sigh. Back and down, reverse sigh. Ah. But you see, the megaphone that I have is the one that is the result of a do-nothing, absolute, invisible throat. And I go like this. And there's my megaphone, see? Now I'm going to sigh, reverse it, go. If I use the sigh megaphone, and sigh back and down, I get that one. Anyway, I thought you might find this interesting, so I wanted to at least discuss it a little bit. And some of you may be doing it anyway, or maybe doing both, or maybe going back and forth, depending, and sometimes it all depends on what you've been taught. I'm so much against la 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 because all that turning and covering and vowel modification and an artificial, this is an artificial shape. La la, that's not the shape of my throat, and there's no language on the planet Earth that is spoken that way. See? So we're supposed to use some kind of speech phonation and be, I hate to use the word, it's so abused, but be natural a little bit, right? So you can just sing. Okay, so we'll see how you like this, and this one will get posted up on YouTube, and you know, you'll have a chance to comment or whatever. Okay, hate me, it's okay, I understand. Okay, bye-bye.